Hello and welcome to today's Safing live stream. I guess we're live. It says excellent connection over there on YouTube. Yes, and I can see myself now as well. Awesome. Thank you all for joining in today. As I mentioned, we have a special episode today. It's the 1,000 subscriber anniversary celebration, whatever. I have no clue. This was an accident, of course, and I had no clue how many people are subscribing. It has been growing on YouTube, and yeah, I mean, we got a comment recently about somebody who's like, could you add some things to YouTube? And I'm like, we're not content creators. We are so not. And I guess with all our issues on YouTube, you already figured that. But especially, I guess, for the live audience, the people who are watching this, they already know, you're in the know. So if you watch all the other stuff, and if you're a subscriber, super thank you. And I see Mike is already on the Discord as well, and he says 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, it does not tell you how much it actually is. We are, tens of people above 1,000 now. So we're actually above 1,000 now, but it does not tell you anymore. Similar to how GitHub does it as well, I guess, where GitHub doesn't show you the hundreds anymore, and it's just 8K GitHub stars, which in perspective, if you're like listening to this and if you are aware of all the different socials, of course I need to be. GitHub, I think, is the biggest one. The second one is Twitter. The third one is Discord. Then there's a long gap with nothing. Then there comes Mastodon. Mastodon, I think, is not even 400 people at the moment. So YouTube is bigger than that. Oh, I forgot YouTube. Yeah, YouTube is behind Discord, but above Mastodon, like very much above. And I think it's 5 people in the community matrix channel. So we sometimes get questions about the channel and about this, and I tell people there is an option. Link is in the description actually, so you can go there. It's also on the Wiki, Safing Wiki, but Matrix is not something that people use, so it's like a desert over there, which I don't mind too much. So it is what it is. I'm sorry for all the people who love Matrix so much, but yeah. Today, there is not much for me that I got prepared, so I wanted it to be a little bit interactive. Daniel suggested I will do a tour through Portmaster and stuff, but this is basically what I wanted the FAQs for, which I recorded one today about installing on Ubuntu. And Mike said Matrix is a plague. I only say, like, and I talk with people about this, Matrix is a bad name. An element is a bad name. If you do a web search for Matrix, you definitely don't get the messenger. So you will get probably the movie or other stuff, but not the message platform. So yeah. Daniel suggested me going through some tips and tricks in Portmaster. This is what the FAQs are for, because like having a live stream full of that is cool, but the FAQs I can actually link to people. And today I did, we got the question regarding how to install on Linux. And when I asked which Linux distribution, it was Ubuntu and Mint. And sure, yeah, Mint is fairly popular. I understand and I get that. But we don't officially support Mint, mainly because Cinnamon is Mint exclusive, like their desktop environment of Linux Mint. And we did not want to get into supporting Cinnamon just for that. So if you don't care about the notifier, then go ahead. It works. It should work on every Linux distro. And I said that in the video as well. Like if you use the curl installer, it should work basically with any modern Linux distribution. There might be an issue like the latest Debian ditched IP tables and only has NF tables now. We will do that as well in the future. We have support for NF table. That's absolutely not an issue, but the default for so many distros is IP tables. That's the reason why we stuck with it as well. But we will probably, and at some point you will have to install NF tables because some distros don't ship with that. So yeah, that's basically the reason. But to come back to my point, I'm a little bit rambly today. But please just write messages. I will read them and probably loop back to them. So I installed Ubuntu today and I looked at it and it was so weird. It was such a weird experience. I like how it looks. I even love the current animal thingamajig, like the ox, or like it's a horn animal, and the octagon, very cool. What I don't like is the jelly thing, which is the LTS version. That I don't like, but the current like up-to-date version, very cool. Made me thought about, oh, how this is how GNOME could look like. But then I went to install, double-clicked the .deb, and realized the application management, like what is GNOME software, but the Ubuntu take on it, does not support .debs. You have to download GNOME software to actually do that. And then I looked at it and I was like, I was always confused if I have Ubuntu somewhere in a VM, like the apt does not properly do what I want, and the updating, you have 3 applications for updating in Ubuntu and stuff like that. I feel like it's a mess. But I did the video. I then just in the 5th, 6th take or something said, well, you need to make sure you have GNOME software installed. And I show the icon, did not show how to find it, because sometimes when I use the Ubuntu thing, and as I said, it was a clean install, but when I started searching in that for software, it showed me everything except the GNOME software thing. And maybe it was my fault, I have no clue. But at one point I just kept it installed and then just went forward with it and showed the icon. So that was the first thing. And then the second thing, and I don't know, maybe that's just normal now, but curl was not installed on Ubuntu. So when I went into the second phase and I wanted to show how the curl installer works, and I'm like, just copy that in, hit enter, and then I got an error message and I was like, what is happening here? What, like, is our curl installer broken? And then I read it and it's like, curl is not installed? What is up with Ubuntu again? I have no clue. I can't even. And quickly installed curl and then went my merry way. But yeah, and so I figured out 2 things. Our documentation in the wiki regarding this is not too bad. I was surprised how good it was, since we touch it every time we have to, but we're focusing on different things. If you want to help improve our documentation, actually somebody from the Discord, forgot the name, recently joined the community wiki as well and is helping now and stuff like that. So helping in regards to documentation, always welcome. It helps us a lot. So yeah, we had, I figured out our documentation is better, and I figured out that Ubuntu truly, and I actually made a comment below the video, if you use Ubuntu and if you feel or think that is what Linux is like, I used to think that, please try another distro before you move on. I recently got a sister-in-law of mine to try Fedora, and I feel like she likes it. So reason for that was it was a very old laptop that we had laying around, and it did not get any updates anymore from the operating system vendor, the original one. And so I opted to install Linux on it so that it's actually secure, and she basically only needs it for web browsing, which Fedora is great. It is truly great. MXV, not sure what you meant by true story. If you're talking about Ubuntu, yeah, I can agree. And you kissing Portmaster, lovely, I guess. I don't know. Please don't try to lick your USB ports. I feel like your laptop will not appreciate that. So getting water into your machine. Portmaster is not responsible for any damage you do to your machine while doing so. I guess you understand. Oh, got a message on YouTube as well. Love Portmaster plus SPN. Do you plan to add non-Five Eyes countries to SPN? What do you mean by non-Five Eyes countries? We do already have Switzerland, not Five Eyes. Germany, I guess, it technically is not as well, isn't it? US, Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand. Yeah, so Germany is not Five Eyes. Austria, of course, is not either. It's not 14 Eyes either, and we're not even NATO. So many people, like, I got a message recently where somebody's like, I just figured out that Austria is not part of NATO. And I'm like, we're neutral. We're neutral for so long now. We're almost like Switzerland, but part of the EU, which makes some stuff even better. Our laws apply, our privacy laws, which are very good, are applicable throughout the EU just because of how laws work in the EU. So if it's legal in Austria, it's for us legal in the whole of the EU, which is very cool. Yeah, makes for us sleeping well at night. That's what I can say. Yeah. Coming back to things I've learned. So, Wiki, if you want to help, please do. Also, because I see and I know we have different languages. Somebody from Switzerland recently reached out and he said if we would offer like translation. Of course, we all know German, but it's a lot of work. So if you want to translate our documentation into different languages, Wiki.js does the same thing like Wikipedia. You can open it in one language and then just select the languages. So if you know a different language, you can help us there. Some people already offered to help us translate Portmaster itself. That is more complicated. If just the documentation could be translated, I think that's a great first step so that people actually can understand what the setting is doing in their language and then just apply what they read in in their language in English. I think for most people that would help a lot already. Yeah. Mike J said, for clarity, in case anyone asks, needs to know, I have been asked a couple of times, does Portmaster cause any issues on crypto exchanges? I have seen no problems using exchanges. Yeah, that's my experience as well. So Mike J says as well, I don't know what you're using. I'm using a couple of exchanges, maybe for the people who don't know, like our payment system, we build ourselves. So if you pay us in crypto, it actually lands in cold wallets. And then we have to sort of manually check and then move the money. The reason for that is that we were like, if we're already accepting crypto, we want it to be platform agnostic and don't have to rely on a certain exchange or something like that. Also for privacy reasons, I mean, Bitcoin is a blockchain. It can be like followed. You can look at the blockchain and see who transferred what or which wallets transferred what. And if you figure out who that person was, of course, it's traceable. So be cautious and understand what you're doing. But for us, it was basically like we don't want it to land in an exchange wallet or anything. So cold wallets and then moving the money or the tokens, if you so will, and then exchanging them wherever. So I have frequently looked at different exchanges. They all seem to work, at least out of Europe. We know that some of the stuff in like Reddit, for instance, I heard from our US users, they have more issues in the US with the nodes and Reddit blocking them. And it's basically them trying to keep all of the potential scrapers out. So if, for instance, OpenAI would, and they are not customers of ours, but would try to use SPN to circumvent the blocking of scraping Reddit, that's partly why they're doing stuff like that. And so it's hard for us, and they are very much like Reddit is, and if you have not seen that, they're very much in preparation to go do their IPO. They made that deal with Google, I think, for the 60 millions a year and stuff like that. So Reddit is gearing up to make the most money they can, and so they're not like they of course, like, I don't know if of course, but they did not listen to us when we tried to sort of like figure something out, tell them that what is done through SPN is regular users, because also we cannot vouch for that either. And we know that there are some people who have tried or have used SPN to do attacks on other companies. Some of them are very nice. They just reach out and are like, well, we figure it's not you, but people in your network are attacking us. Please do something. And sometimes we can do something on the exit nodes that stops that flooding, just basically block the company's domains on that exit node, so it does not reach them and it's blocked on our side. Of course, bad for IP reputation, stuff like that, for everybody else on the SPN. So yeah, not cool. But part of, like, when you're for privacy, there are always people doing mischievous things, and there's that we knew that from the get-go, and we knew from the get-go that we will protect people who are doing bad stuff. That's part of the deal. Mike said a reinitialization or restart of Podmaster sometimes helps with us Reddit users. You don't know how. Basically, what I found is, or a couple of things in regards to Reddit. Old Reddit typically works. I don't know for how long, because as I said, Reddit is gearing up to make the most money they can. So who knows how long old.reddit works. But that, as far as I learned, works every time with SPN enabled and everything. Yeah, that's one thing. The other thing is, if you log in and if you stay logged in, then it works also with no issues. And the third one, of course, is you can always like set Reddit to exclude in SPN, and then it also, of course, works. So Portmaster itself, the filtering it does is not enough for Reddit to block you yet. So who knows? Did not look too much into this, but yeah. So, and they, of course, like, it's not in the browser, but how they sort of like try to figure out what content actually loads can have an impact there. But basically, yeah. Speaking of Reddit, going from one topic to the next, I actually unpinned the post that we're not on Reddit recently. It, of course, did not make an announcement, but I am active-ish on Reddit again. Way less since Apollo is gone. But basically, during normal working hours, I once or twice a day check in, answer some stuff on Reddit, and check out again. So I sometimes feel like if I answer somebody and if that person comes back in 5 minutes and answers back, like gives a response, and I only come back the next day, like that might be a bad experience. I hope those people understand that that's just like, I'm not on Reddit for fun. So, or I'm typically not on Reddit for fun, and I'm not on Reddit on my phone anymore, so I'm not after hours scrolling on Reddit anymore. So yeah, that's, if you have opinions about that, please leave them below in the comments or put them in a chat now. Love to know, but from my experience, Reddit just, yeah, it changed, and yeah, I try to be a force for good on there. So I post on our privacy about baby monitors, and recently just put my 2 cents in, like help people as much as I can. Mike says nothing about Reddit is fun anymore. I don't know. There is a very funny German sub community on Reddit. The me in real life in German they are funny, but they have also opening hours now, which is funny-ish. Some people dislike that a lot, but I just find it funny. So the memes can't be posted throughout the day, and they open and close it during sections, and that's how they argue. Well, we're moderators, and so we have to be on to moderate the stuff properly, and that's sort of like their protest thing. But I guess they also saw that the Reddit thingamajig alternative, which they try to push people towards, is not growing, and I think it only has a couple hundred people, and the Me in Real Life in German has over 1 million people. So it's way different. Again, it's almost like our Discord and our Matrix, just factor 10 probably. at least, yeah, because our Discord is only 1.6k or something like that. Mike says free thought has been discouraged on Reddit, and it depends on the subreddit, but yeah, saw that as well. Some of the moderators now are moderating very heavily. Don't know if that will change, but yeah. What is free thought? Are they allowed to do that? I don't know. Yeah. So that's a saving on Reddit. Who knows? I guess we will stick with it for a little bit longer. If it will change for the total worse, we will go again. We actually got invitations to, or some of us got some invitations to participate in the IPO, but of course it's only open for people in the US, like with US residents. Not sure. Sometimes I'm like, I used to like Reddit a lot, and so this nostalgia, and I paid for Reddit Premium back in the day, but when they started changing all of that, I'm like, what you doing? You're losing me, at least, and I felt that they lost a lot of people. So with me, and part of the thing was Apollo was of course ad free, but like with YouTube, I pay for YouTube Premium as well. I'm like, yes, I have ad blockers enabled, but I understand that there is cost involved for them, and I don't just want to freeboot it, so I pay them money, even if I did not see ads before, just to compensate them back. And they had apparently issues with Apollo, that it got rid of the ads, but did not contribute back in any way. But yeah, that's like, with me at least, they lost a power user and somebody who paid them monthly. Yeah, which I heard brings even more revenue to them than what they could ever make with the ads, which they target me with. Who knows? Now I don't see ads on Reddit, and I don't pay them any money, but I'm way less on there as well. Yeah. So, and while I'm waiting on, okay, on YouTube chat, sadly Reddit has gone woke. I'm the name woke just appeared out of random for me at one point. I don't know. They can't be helped. I don't know. I feel like, again, not too familiar. Like I feel like for the last year, the term woke came much more into my world, and I'm like, what is everybody talking about? So I'm not sure how people define it, and I'm not sure if I should, and I don't want to actually. I feel like everybody can be helped though, and I hope that as time goes on, I mean, if you don't like your users, and if you annihilate the power users, the people who are actually bringing value to your platform, that it will eventually break to a degree where you need to fix some things. And I feel like most platforms fix themselves over time, and are good again. I mean, yeah, who knows? Moving on, maybe to a different topic. You can ask me questions again and we can move back, but moving on to a different topic. I don't know what it is, but we got asked, like we had a huge thread on the Discord about YubiKeys and hardware keys and all that stuff in general. And I even chimed in and shared like that Daniel and me actually did, and maybe that's for the same reason, who knows. But Daniel and me did a couple of weeks ago, and last live stream I mentioned we were on a conference, and we actually gave a talk there about passkeys and FIDO2 and all that stuff. So I guess I'm more versed with it now than I was before. But it is very interesting, and passkeys as a technology, because I read on the Discord that some people said, well, they don't see the point, and some are even like rotating passwords regularly, and you should look into this. This does not make you more secure. If your password did not get leaked, changing it actually can decrease your security. So it's weird math things, but math typically does not lie and is more right than your gut feeling. So interesting point there. And passkeys, so why do I like passkeys, and why would I encourage people to move towards passkeys? Even software ones, which are just strictly in your password manager. The main thing for it is that it is more secure because it is a private public key pair. That's the same thing, or the same methodology regarding security that people who are using SSH have been using for years, where you have a private key that stays on your machine, and you have a public key that you exchange with the server. And so what this allows is that your part is really only on your device. And it's also like two-factor, like the TOTP thing with the 2 times 3 number thing, like the 6 digits you have to put in. That is not local. And that can actually, and I think we recently saw a hack where those TOTP keys have been stolen on a couple of platforms. I'm not even sure which one it was. It might have been Facebook. But those keys, they have to be stored in plain text. They cannot be hashed like passwords can. And with hashed passwords, there's stuff like rainbow tables and so on. You can go look at it. Hashing a password is good and good practice, and you should never have a password stored that isn't hashed. But it can be, if you have the hashed password, it can be reverse engineered. There are different methods to this. And of course, depending on the resources you have, but you can rent that typically. So when you talk about reverse engineering a password, you typically talk about dollar amounts and not time necessarily, because you, again, can just rent online resources and just like crunch through the numbers. So passkeys sort of like mitigate all those issues. Like you don't have anything on the server that, like, yes, it ties into your private key, but it is not the private key. So you can't reverse engineer your private key from that. And you can't also spoof or phish anybody into giving out your private key, because it never goes out. Even if they steal the private credentials from them, they cannot get your private key, which is so cool. Yeah. Hunter just asked, solo stream today. Yeah, as I wrote, Hunter, in the earlier things above, it's a 1K special. We have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is super cool, and thank you for everybody who subscribes. But Daniel is out and about today, so it's only me, and I'm just rambling about stuff, so just ask me whatever you want. Yeah, Mike says just taking questions. That's absolutely correct. And going through different things and trying to, I don't know, be available. That's what the live stream was and is for, having a every other week sort of like check in, tell you what's giving you the opportunity to ask us questions and responding. And today, I guess, is a little bit more rambly. I even asked in advance if somebody wanted to join me on the call and be part of it. Next time, if you read something like that, or maybe check in earlier in the Discord, I'm absolutely open to have guests on here as well. I mean, it is sort of like a podcast. I typically don't like podcasts on YouTube, but if you're interested in participating and sort of like get stuff in early, check in on the Discord. Hunter says, you hope Daniel is fine. Yeah, he's very fine. It's not a vacation technically, but it's a longer weekend that he's taking. And I hope he's enjoying his stay. And I sort of vaguely know his plans, but very lovely. Exactly. Mike says, back to the earlier topic regarding cryptographics and math and stuff like reusing or like changing passwords. Math never lies. Think blockchain. I don't know. Think blockchain. That's mathematical as well, but cryptography overall is super interesting territory, and having those private public key pairs and verifying all that stuff, super interesting if you actually want to know how it works. Super cool. And so I like passkeys because they have this private public key pair, and it can't be phishable. Also, it can't be stolen on the server, and stuff like that. And yes, if you have it in your password manager, it is not living on a TPM, so it lives on your hard drive somehow, and it should be encrypted with that password of your password manager. But of course it can be stolen, and if those things then get hacked, they have access to all those passkeys, which can be bad. But how often does that happen compared to a server getting hacked and then all that stuff? How often does that happen compared to getting phished and stuff like that? So the attacker, like the threat vector, in my opinion, is much slower. Not slower, much narrower. And for the most important things, I would recommend using hardware keys. So stuff like a YubiKey, and mine is now over 2 years old. It has some dents and it got a little bit dirty. And I would actually also recommend look into other companies. I posted a photo where I have shared like Nitro keys. They have a couple models. Those are German. There are some French ones out there as well. YubiKey is Swedish, I think. And Odin actually shared some other ones as well, with more. And that's now the thing. Like passkeys, technically, on hardware keys are called residential keys. So the wording again. I think we should all call passkeys everything that is this public-private key pair. Because I think it will make things easier. And if you start talking about residential and non-residential keys, so look for passkeys basically. And WebAuthn, that's the technology and website side of things. If the website supports WebAuthn, then you can create a passkey. So that's the lock and the key basically. Passkey for WebAuthn lock. That's how this works. And with iPhones and Macs, they are stored in the TPMs on the device, but they are synchronized through the iCloud. The iCloud should be protected and encrypted, at least with your Apple ID password. And typically, they have the two-factor thing as well, like where you have to confirm on a second device and so on. But be aware, if you're using the passkey option with Apple, it will be stored and synchronized through their computers in a cloud. So not your machine, not your access. But yeah, it makes stuff way easier. And Microsoft actually does a similar thing with Windows Hello. I have not confirmed that this is partly the reason why Windows 11 requires a TPM as well. because then of course all the passkeys can live in the TPM, and Windows Hello just allows you access to it. It also, I think, makes all the talk about, and I don't love, let me have a pause here. I like the right to repair. I'm repairing tons of stuff at my house. My robot vacuum thingamajig I actually repaired because it's not internet connected, and I'd like to keep it as long as I can so that it does not connect to the internet. Like the next one would not be probably available without internet connection, so I want to keep that. I repaired tons of laptops over the years and so on. So I'm all for right to repair, but what Apple was recently saying, and I heard this, I think on TechLinked, where they said about biometric protection, and that they don't want to allow third-party biometrics to be put in, but only first-party ones, and only them, so that they can actually verify that this works and sort of like software lock this as well. I feel like if we're talking about passkeys and them living on the TPM, and the TPM being unlocked by the biometric verification, this is an attack vector I'm actually thinking about, where I'm like, I'm not sure, like I'd love to be able to say, well, yeah, I don't care about cameras, I don't care about screens. If you want to have a crappy third-party screen in there, go for it. If it's better, go for a better screen than what Apple puts in there. I don't care. But with the biometrics, this is the one thing where I'm like, I see the reasoning behind this. And either if it's third party, they lock the TPM behind a password, which makes it way more inconvenient, and I think users would hate it, or they just say you cannot replace it with a third party one, which I sort of understand. Yeah, that's just me. Leave me a comment below what you think about it. Again, I am for right to repair. I'm on Linux for for this. And earlier in the show, I mentioned that I, on a very old machine, recently installed Linux so that it can actually get used for longer and stuff like that. Yeah, so right to repair, absolutely something that I'm for. And Mike says right to repair is turning into a catch-22. There are just so many implications that people need to think about when it comes to that. And yes, I feel like what Apple has been doing in Europe, and I got the 17.4 update for iOS recently, so I could sideload stuff now in Europe. But I understand, so there's cool stuff, but there's also stuff where I'm like, okay, good. Security and linking things together, this is like, I just understand. That's all I'm saying. I understand that it's complicated. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I understand what Apple is doing necessarily, but I understand that it's complicated, and I would caution everybody, or try to argue everybody should caution a bit before getting out the pitchforks and saying, well, they're just anti-consumer. That's all I'm saying. A right to repair is almost as important as privacy. Yeah, no, and right, Mike, I agree. Like, you should, owning things is important as actually being in control of the things you have, and all that. Because if you don't have right to, then of course, like, you don't know how private it actually is. But when it comes to security, some part of it, you just need to be aware that it comes with trade-offs. And I guess the typical consumer just isn't aware of them. And so, especially when it comes to login stuff like passkeys. And I actually, on that conference, somebody told me about like how they like hack and steal everything out of somebody's bank account, and the attack vector is getting that person to put in their password or their PIN code, shoulder surfing that, then registering their biometrics, because typically on iOS you don't have to confirm with biometrics to add a biometric, so they just add their biometrics, their fingerprint or their face, and then their bank app does not ask for a PIN code, just for the biometrics, and then they wire all the money out, get all the card, like the full limit of everything, max out all their cards, and rob that person of everything just through their phone. So it is very like this. I see how you could do this very quickly, and I feel like this is scary stuff. And imagine if they would not even need your PIN code, just plug in their third-party biometric thing that is already registered on their face and just sends back the correct bits and bytes and tells the TPM, yeah, the confirmation went through, just open up. And then even if they cannot get the stuff out because everything is on the phone, and the bank app just verifies against the TPM, and the TPM gets the confirmation from the rigged biometrics, yes, that's okay. Oh, scary stuff. Yeah. Trade-offs, yeah. Mike says not having the right to repair is like getting double tax. Trade-offs for sure, yeah. Yeah, you just need to think stuff through and be aware. Also, of course, like what you allow to be, you could then just say, well, I'm not allowing my bank app to open up with biometrics, or allow transfers through biometrics and stuff like that. That is an option. But then what is the alternative? Then you have a PIN code for that probably, or a password, and passwords are not that secure because like you reuse passwords if you have to use them everywhere. Passwords are bad for security as well. They can be shoulder surfed and stuff like that. Daniel actually made the case when he is traveling, he does not use his physical card because those 4 digits that you have to put in at the ATM or when you're like at the shops and paying there, they are so easily watched over your shoulder, and then they just need to steal the card and then they have all the access. And if you can pay wirelessly or like with Apple Pay or with Google Pay or whatever, stealing your face or stealing your thumb is harder than stealing the 4 digits. It so is. And so that's just, and he again back then was like, oh, I understand. I thought my risk is maybe higher because like I leave my fingerprints everywhere, but no, getting this fingerprint to work on your phone is harder than looking at you typing in the 4 digits and guessing or whatever. Guessing is not that easy because of course the card would lock. But yeah, this just changed my perspective. And now with the biometrics again, like there needs to be a handshake between the two. And if this handshake can get bypassed by third-party stuff, scary stuff. Scary stuff. And I'm like, yeah, don't want that. I see a couple people typing. Hunter, I guess you never finished what you wanted to type. Please go ahead. Also, Mike is typing. I'm drinking some water. Maybe to add regarding hardware keys, because people asked what they use them for. As I said, I think pass keys are super cool, also in a password manager. But what I use my hardware key also for is for stuff like my Nextcloud or something. When I quickly need to log in on, for instance, my wife's device or my mother's device, if I just want to download something quickly on their device, I don't need to sort of like send them my password via Signal or something, or set up a Signal over there and then send it to myself or whatever. I can just plug in the hardware key, go onto the site, and then just confirm with the hardware key. And I'm logged in. And then just log out and maybe clear session or whatever. You know how to do that. That's actually what the private browsing window is for. Because then all the cookies and everything gets deleted. after you close it. So this is what I'm using it for, and I feel like if you have those 3 to 4 accounts you need to use on others' devices, or for instance, if you have a bootstrap strategy, I, for instance, sometimes, like when I reinstall Linux somewhere, I have a couple of things I know I want, and some of them are encrypted folders I need to download from different places and so on, and they are protected behind passkeys, so that I can actually, like, just with one of my security keys, bootstrap myself online and get all my credentials and get everything back again, which I feel like is important, especially if you're traveling. Having some place secure where you have a copy of all the important stuff in there, look into that. my recommendation. Mike J said, in the States, it's an epidemic of phony credit card reader covers on top of the credit card swipe machines. Always have to take a second look before swiping. Yeah. But of course, with NFC, this also changes probably a bit. Yeah. But take a look before swiping. Yes, take caution. And if you, like in Europe, we typically have NFC now, and above, I think, 50 euros, you have to put in the combination, except, of course, if you use something like an Apple Pay or a Google Pay or something like that, where you just verify with your biometrics. With those, though, what I tell people is, look at the money amount that's there, because if there's a zero more, instead of 50, the person would type 500, and as soon as you hold your phone there, it will transfer the 500 euros as well, and you won't be prompted again. So yeah, you need to be cautious differently, but it cannot be stolen from you as easily. That's what I'm saying. So that was just something where my perspective changed over the time, and I felt like sharing. And also passkeys. Just, yeah. Don't go, maybe that's an interesting tidbit here as well. Even though I like YubiKeys, the current ones I think only can store 25 passkeys or something small, a small number like that. Wait a little bit. Odin said that there will be like YubiKey 6 coming out soon. They will have more. Not sure about the when, but yeah, there are alternatives. The French ones I said, I think New Wave are they called. They already have 250 plus, depending on key length and depending on name length. This can change, but above 200, which, like, I don't have 200 accounts with TOTP enabled, so I guess, like, looking at my TOTP app, I have plenty of room to grow into that passkey situation with those keys. Also, the Google Titan key looks well built. I bought it to test it. But it is, of course, it's Google for one thing, and then it's produced in China, and you can decide yourself. I myself decided I would not want a key that's produced there, but it's from a physical perspective, it's built very well, and it's it's a key I would everybody tell about, with the added information that it's by Google and built in China. So if you don't have an issue with those two things, go ahead. It's $30. It's very cheap compared to YubiKeys, and that, like, especially for the capacity and stuff like that. So might be a good option for you. Yeah. Okay, MadLad said audio is weak. I can turn it up. On my end, on my end it says that it is already, like, if I turned it up, it is on max, like it went red line. I'm sorry that the audio is weak for you, MadLad. I'm not sure what to do about it. All right. again, like on OBS, I am currently on the upper end of green, often going into yellow. And if I turn it up anymore, I'm redlining. So I don't want it to break. But I can look into that later on. If somebody else has audio issues, please let me know. Otherwise, on YouTube, Matt Led said the audio is weak. Sorry, mate. Mike just said, I'm a megaphone for saving, telling everybody I meet basically, but question, what is the immediate best thing users can do to help the team right now? Oh, that is a good question, Mike. We are currently we are looking for, or start looking for, an Android developer. If you looked into, Mike just said audio is fine on his end. Okay, I don't know, Matt Led, maybe your thing got stuck. We talked about right to repair earlier. There is great tutorials out there to clean out the different parts, the speakers. I started doing this. Makes so much difference. Clean out your speakers from time to time. That's my suggestion. But I'm still sorry that yours is weak at the moment. So back to Mike's question about what you can do. We are starting to look into Android developers. We have grown in monetary, and you saw this probably in Portmaster as well. We got a recent question that it was confusing. We are, I think, almost 40% towards being able to afford a full-time Android developer. Again, we're expecting some fluctuations. Since we started showing people that graph, it only grew. So we are super happy about that. I basically wanted to do an update, give more details, but from our perspective, we're okay, good. We look at the end of the month, look at the number, update the percentage, and then just guesstimate what an Android developer will cost us and what we can afford. So if you're an Android developer, please reach out. If you're an open source Android developer and want to look at it in advance, it is the Android app is open source, so you can already look. But yeah, as Mike, what you're already doing, spreading the word, is already a lot of help. Portmaster is growing. Our YouTube channel is growing. Let us know what you'd like to see more. Maybe engage with the FAQ video section on Discord more. I feel like I'm not getting questions there, so I'm always struggling what people are confused about and what to do a video about. Of course, we're not content creators, so doing a video sometimes takes a little bit more time and they're not that polished, but feedback is still welcome. If our audio is not good, let us know. So it should be help. If the audio is in the way of helping people, that's bad. So give us feedback in that regard. That would be super cool. Hunter said, I didn't because I was thinking that a lot of data is leaking in from a metadata. I don't consider pins and basic passwords are the weakest point of security. I think that was regarding passkeys and starting to consider passkeys. In from off metadata. I'm not sure what you're saying. I'm reading a couple more comments. I don't quite get what you're saying there. Other thing, also on PC basic sound drivers. Okay, yeah, you're talking about sound then. Yeah, I think I turned it down again, so I hope that everything is fine from the audio perspective again. But yeah, yeah, I also from the speakers, I'm currently they're very weak, and every time I'm in a video call, I need to turn them up to 120%. So yeah, I don't know, audio, weird stuff. But going back to the PIN, password, stuff like that, just to clarify in regards to passkeys, you're creating a new passkey every time. It is not providing more information than a password about you, and it's not providing more because it's creating a new set private public key pair every time, and so it's like a password, but it's a cryptographic method of a password, so it's a little bit more complicated, which makes it phishing resistant. But yeah, it should not. I don't see why it would leak any data. What you might be referring to is non-residential keys, where everything technically gets signed with the same private key. That is theoretically something where everything could track you, but that's not passkeys. That's different. You have an unlimited amount of them, of course, because it's built into the chip itself. It's nothing that's stored. It's nothing that's created. It is just like the physiology of the chip itself. And yes, this of course stays the same with all the different accounts. So you could be tracked through that, but we are moving away from that. This is also just as an information hunter. The non-residential keys are typically just a second factor. So they're not a single factor where they would actually replace your password, but the non-residential keys typically are just after, like they're replacing your TOTP, which of course is also not too bad because TOTP can be stolen on the server, and the non-residential key in your hardware key cannot be stolen. But I'm not arguing for non-residential keys to be the future. I'm arguing for pass keys / residential keys to be the future, where you have the private public key pair. They're always created new for each login. You can have multiple logins on the same device. It's a little bit tricky figuring out which to use. That is something that your browser then has to manage and stuff like that. But with password managers, this is beautifully handled. Most of them at the moment can do this. And I'm not talking about logging into the password manager with a passkey. That is something that not all of them support. But I'm talking about storing a passkey inside a password manager and then using it to log in. And this, of course, is the important bit because of phishing and stuff like that. You typically have your password manager installed on your device anyway. And then if you want to log in, it prompts you for the passkey, use the passkey, and then that passkey would not work on a website that isn't the correct one. And yeah, so can be phished. Super cool. Super cool. So Mike said, if all goes well, he's speaking about Portmaster to the graduating law class of Indiana University in April. So super cool. Are you inviting people there to watch you talk about it? Is there a recording? Are you going to share it on the Discord? I'd love to see that. If you're willing to share, of course. Like I know, and I even back in the day started a blog about me fighting for others' privacy, and of course, so not being private. But I feel like to speak for privacy, like he says, oh, he will share it. Super cool. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, it is tricky. But yeah, it's what it is, and I feel like privacy is important enough for that, and it takes more than this, and I feel like privacy as a movement sort of has stopped and slowed down again, and the broader community has had some hiccups and issues over the time, especially on Reddit, I'd say, but I feel like it's healing again. Nature is healing, as we know. And I feel like, especially our Discord, if you're only on YouTube, our Discord is super great. I like such a cool community in general. In Beach Bar, you can basically ask almost any question. If it starts getting into, I don't know, areas that are not privacy related, I will tend to kill them and say, well, you can talk free speech on Discord, but not free speech in our community. Like you can say all your opinions about privacy, but I don't, yeah. Beach Bar is a little bit more open, some people started talking about some of their hobbies there as well. That's all fine, but yeah, I try to keep the community positive by staying focused on the things we're all here to talk about, which is privacy. Hunter said, yep, sorry, I heard only half of a discussion about the passkeys and security and stuff. Yeah, no, I understand, and it is confusing, Hunter. I so understand that passkeys and the whole security key sector with FIDO1, FIDO2, now FIDO2.1, it is a confusing mess, and that is very sad in my opinion, because this actually, I think, is actually better than what has come before, for real. And I would recommend everybody to start looking into it and maybe get a hardware key. By getting a hardware key, I mean two, because if you lose one, then you got a backup. They're not that expensive anymore. Just look for FIDO2 or 2.1. It does not matter. That's the only thing you have to look for. Don't go for the most expensive one. As I said, the Google one for $30 is enough for most people. And it's not that cheap just because it's made in China, because the French one, made in French, designed in France, made in France, designed in France, is also 30-ish bucks. It doesn't have NFC, but most phones have USB-C now anyway, so get the USB-C one. Also about 30 bucks. So look into it and just look for FIDO2 2.1. I still would say Ubico is the most well thought out and proven package, but their current lineup is overpriced, especially because they have so little passkey storage. So wait, and don't buy Ubico now. That's my other suggestion. And this sounds reassuring. Yeah, I'm glad. Mike J, the Safing Discord channel is most productive and friendly server. Always great people that are willing to dive in head first to help others. That is so true. That is so true, which is also why I'm so hesitant about pushing the matrix, because I don't want people to I don't want to split the community. It is so great, and the Discord, I feel, is very good organized as well. I hope most people agree. We have the community section, and we have a different section for node operators. Maybe that's interesting to you, the people watching. If you are a node operator and if you want to be known as a node operator, there's actually a different section for those as well, where they can help each other, share tidbits, sometimes maybe even share deals on stuff and experiences and so on. So our Discord is even a place for community node operators to share information, help each other. Super cool. And yeah, of course, giving feedback on Portmaster, super important to us. Again and again, yeah, Mike earlier asked, how can you help? I haven't seen many issues recently about bugs or anything. I mean, this is very reassuring for me, because I feel like all the stuff that is happening is very niche and very isolated. Have not seen a lot of broader issues recently. So if you see something, say something, and write us an email. Just go into Portmaster, hit submit a bug or something, or a recommendation or something like that, because we rely on that. We don't have analytics. We don't know what's going on. And yeah, so we need you to tell us what is not working. I am starting to wrap up. We're like beyond the hour, but there are a couple of things coming into Discord. While I'm answering those, please feel free to write more questions, but just as a heads up. Hunter said, no, Mike said before, Ubi is overpriced. Yeah, as I said. And I agree, especially the 5 series. There's so much things that the 5 series can that the normal person does not need. So again, FIDO2 is the only thing you need to look out for. Hunter said, correct, I only recently Googled for a physical passkey. What a shame, considering security for me is so important. Yeah, it is a hot mess. I don't know, maybe I will write a blog post about this in the near-ish future. The research was interesting, again, because it was very confusing. The FIDO Alliance has some interesting videos. Maybe look at that. Also, I think it was IBM has some interesting videos explaining how passkeys work. So that was a good resource as well. And fairly digestible, I'd say. But private public key, like methods, mathematically, super interesting stuff. Lots to read about. But again, nothing new. SSH has been like, if you have an SSH key, this is the same thing from a key perspective and a key pair perspective. FIDO2 works differently with WebAuthn, and how the package and the signing works, it is different, but the mathematical principle between a private and public key pair and how that works, that is very proven for the longest time. So you can look into it. Mike J, Matrix or Revolt chat should be a backup in case privacy talk gets too spicy for Discord. Yeah, sure. Again, the community matrix is on matrix.org, so we don't host it. So who knows, maybe matrix.org goes rogue at one point. Hope not. But yeah, as a backup, I totally agree. I mean, if we would be kicked out of every platform and you still got Portmaster installed, we could probably just push an update within the spinny thing or whatever, where you would see, well, we are now over here and you can reach us over here, or just send us an email. That I feel like one of the cool things about email is, even though it's not the most private, Sonar is private, and it's not very secure, even with Proton or Tuta or everything, they are all trying to fix something that is inherently not private and not very secure. It still works, and there are options out there where you can self-host email. I mean, so great. So that's that. And of course, you can sort of do that with Matrix as well. Self-host something, but email just works. You can send it to all the people out there. Mike said, great show today, Raphael. Thank you for sharing your time and resources with all of us. Yeah, no, love to be here. Love to share. Again, Daniel is doing very well, I guess, I hope. He's taking a longer weekend, but we talked about it, and I also enjoyed this time, and so I wanted to not skip, because we already skipped, I think, twice this year, which I feel bad about. So thank you for the kind words. And he then says, Mike J again, we know it's not easy to find the time. Go home, you gave us more than an hour. Yeah, thank you. But yeah, it is fun. And if that's the reason why I like keeping it as a schedule as well, because going back into the rhythm is harder. But if you already know, oh, it's Saving Life Week, that's fine. And it's much easier. And everybody at home knows as well, like, that's the week where they should not call me in the afternoon, basically. Hunter says, you never know what go rogue in the first place. Yeah, that is also true. That is so true. Skiff. No, who knows? I mean, yeah, it is. I actually talked with a couple of privacy folks about that. And I think on the Privacy Guides discourse, discourse is the forum thingamajig. They even had a post about how to maybe vet this sort of stuff more neutral, to have something like a couple of red flags and so on. And what I told them is, like, from my perspective, I feel like if your heart isn't in it, that's basically the only thing. Like, so many things can change over time, but the heart needs to be in it. And I understand that this is just hard to measure, but I mean, Signal, for instance, even though it is a nonprofit, their business model is basically crap. Maybe consider supporting Signal. I'm supporting Signal each month because I want it to stick around. I want it to not do a wire or a skiff or a, I don't know, start page or all that stuff. So yeah. And also the reason why we're not lowering the prices. People have asked us, why aren't we lowering the prices? This would bring us into a situation where we need much more people, and it would create weird incentives and so on. And it's it's hard. Part of the reason also why we're doing Saving Life. I mean, we started with the podcast back in the day because we already knew, like, we want to take the community with us, and a good community is also what is like keeping us wanting to serve the community as well. Because if the community is not there, and if you're just doing it for yourself, then you need to be very idealistic. And we have been that for many years. But now that there are so many people, so many cool people here, that's also cool. And Arun also said, just stop by to say how much I love Portmaster, SPN, and savings philosophy. And this is what helps us and keeps us in line as well. And I guess it's too late now, but I feel like maybe at another point I can tell you the story about Portmaster Plus and why this helped us also. And I know some people hate that there are some features which are local, which are behind a paywall, but I think we talked about this quickly in the past as well. This helped us as well in regards to our mental health, where we're like, people are paying for better Portmaster features, not just for the SPN. Because then doing the mental thingamajig, where it's like the SPN, people who pay for the SPN know that they're also paying for Portmaster. And so we can do the same thing, but then again, they're paying for this. Is this okay if we invest time into this? Portmaster Plus and having this line in there fixed so much for us. We of course don't know if the SPN subscribers actually care about the Portmaster features, but we care now about them more. This has been a change, I think, a year ago. So for people who have been around for longer than this, we used to only have SPN as a paid thing, but yeah, it helped us a lot in our perspective about how we can continue supporting Portmaster overall without feeling that we betray the people who are actually paying us to do that sort of stuff. Yeah. So Hunter said, let's find out more about Portmaster Plus. Yeah, we can do this next week. If you have questions, I will probably create by the beginning of next week the live stream or maybe I will just do it now. But you can also go on the Discord or go on YouTube in the comments below and write questions for the next live stream. You can also ask questions for FAQ videos. I read basically every comment. YouTube makes this very easy for me to see all the YouTube comments. So let us know what you want to know. And I will do also more FAQ videos, shorter ones. These don't necessarily have to be about Portmaster features and how-tos. It can be other stuff as well, but if it's a more philosophical and bigger question, I will probably take it up with Daniel in 2 weeks for the next live stream. Okay then, thank you all for being here. joining us. Anybody who is watching this later on, we appreciate you, of course, as well. We know we have a lot of people watching in like North America and stuff, and yeah, we're here in Europe, so it would be in the middle of the night for us if we would do it for a better time for you guys. So I'm kind of sorry, kind of not. Thank you, Mike, of course, for being here early in his morning, I guess. And thank you for all the great conversations. And yeah, see you in 2 weeks. Have a good one.